Welcome back, everyone. We're on a roll in creating podcasts for the Lazy Money Machine podcast. What we do here is short episodes where we talk about a topic or an article in the news. Graham Brown is on the other side. Graham, how are you doing?
I am fantastic. How are you doing, Erik?
Very good. My name is Erik ten Have, and we're again this week on a roll to go and find some interesting clips on the internet. And today I think we're going to listen to somebody. Let's listen to it first.
You know, there's a very, very thin dividing line between success and failure. Most people who set up in business without financial backing, they fail at some times in their lives. And, you know, I've only just stayed at the right side of that dividing line. For instance, just after, you know, we had a record company, I was fed up flying on other people's airlines. I felt that the experience of flying on other people's airlines was an unpleasant one, and I decided to set up an airline. Our bank went into complete panic attack. And when I came back from doing the inaugural flight of Virgin Atlantic's very, very first flight from London to New York, I came back to find the bank manager sitting on my doorstep and informing me that they were going to close Virgin down on the Monday, and this was the Friday, and that I had 2 days to effectively pay them off the monies that they'd loaned us.
Okay, let's pause here first, and then we continue with the second half of what he says. So, Branson is known for really, really going out and just trying everything based on a gut feel and a dissatisfaction with the way things are. The whole Virgin brand is around that, right? If something is wrong, they try to fix it. They do Virgin Cola, they did Virgin Airlines, right? They do trains, they do all sorts of industries where his motivation is, if something's wrong in the industry, I'll go in and try to fix it, which is a beautiful motivation, I think.
There's a danger there as well, isn't there? Don't you think that there's a lot of people who want to be like that?
Yes.
They have a gut feeling, and therefore they want to do something. So, yeah, I've got a gut feeling that this app will work, or this thing that I've made is going to change the world. And that's the danger, is that it's a survivor bias, isn't it? We hear only the 1 in 1,000 stories that actually get through. For every Richard Branson, there's 10,000 people who have failed doing exactly what he was doing. So I wonder, what is it that he has beyond the gut feeling itself? Because, you know, there's a million entrepreneurs out there trying to change the world based on something that they felt, right? What does he do differently? What has he got that the others don't have? I mean, he does have a privileged background, but beyond that, what do you think?
Yeah, I think one of the things that he has that maybe not everybody else has is he has a network and a reputation and a brand. So first of all, he comes in with a brand, which is fantastic. Then he has this network of people that have supported him in his previous businesses. And he basically can activate this huge network of friends and people that he has to go and try a new venture. So I think his odds are a lot better than somebody that has to invent everything from the get-go. And he's also known for hiring, like, you know, the top guys of other airlines. I think he did that for Virgin, right? He has a sexy brand, right? So if he starts something new, people will be attracted to go and join that company. It's like Apple, right? Everybody wants to work for Apple. So he's able to attract talent. He has this network of money, of support, of other people that can bring him to his success. And then he launches. So I think he has a lot better odds than most people.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You talk about failure again and the odds of failure. And this goes back to our last couple of podcasts where we talked about failure. Mm-hmm. And let's say you had 1 million entrepreneurs and one of them was Branson. Well, he can, on the throw of the die, be more successful because his die is slightly weighted, right?
Yeah.
And this is a problem, I think, is that a lot of entrepreneurs think that if you go out there and just passionate about something and work like an idiot, right? Like every hour that, you know, you have available to you, that you will be successful.
Yeah.
But I see this as like the downfall of almost every entrepreneur out there, 95% of them. So the question now, I mean, you mentioned it in the last podcast about protecting your downside, is that you got to reduce the odds of failure. I mean, failure's celebrated too much, I think. So what Branson projects is this sexy image of like a freewheeling entrepreneur. But you mention it, is that he has a network that a lot of people don't have.
Yeah.
I mean, his family banked at Coutts. Now, Coutts is a private bank account, a private bank in London, which the Queen banks at, right? They don't take anybody,
Yeah.
right? So he comes from a privileged family. I'm not saying that's his reasons for success, but the network part is so important. That protects your downside. How do you do that? I mean, if you're not aristocracy.
Yeah. Well, let's
how do you do it?
Yeah, let's continue the story, because remember what he said, right? So he launched Virgin Atlantic, and then the next day after the inaugural flight of Virgin Atlantic, he comes home and he finds the bank manager on his doorstep, right? So basically they're pulling his credit line. The bank's pulling his credit line because he does something crazy. He starts an airline. So then we just spoke about network. Listen to how he fixed this problem.
And I remember pushing the bank manager out of my house, telling him he wasn't welcome, which is a dangerous thing to do to your bank manager, and then spending the weekend ringing around the world to all of the distributors of our music, asking if they could give us a temporary loan to get us through the following week, which they were good enough to do. And by the end of the week, we'd changed banks. We'd actually managed to find a bank that was willing to lend us 30 times the overdraft facility that our bank had lent us, and we managed to survive. And I think, the moral of that story is actually, don't think of your bank as somebody that you're beholden to. I mean, people just don't move from one bank to another. Sometimes you need to be willing to step up and move your banks in the same way that you should step up and move your doctor on occasions. Or anyway, I learned from that lesson.
So the importance of network and the importance of relationship and the importance of reputation, basically, right? He goes around to his music distributors. Listen to this. So his airline that he started is the one that triggered the bank to pull the credit line. Then he goes to his music distributors, basically his clients, and says, I need money. And in a weekend, he gets it, right? So that's amazing.
He's got the hustle. Yeah, he's got the hustle, though. That's the thing, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That ability to, I mean, how many entrepreneurs have got the ability to pick up a phone and ask for money?
Well, and now here's the interesting thing. You know what? I think everybody has that ability.
Right. Yeah, right. You're right.
It's just that I sometimes have to remind myself that, guys, there's a phone out there where you can talk to people. I have when I'm in these situations, I sometimes think I just need to go and make a list, write up 10 names, and go and start getting on the bloody phone and call people. And that's what he did. He gets on the phone. He was probably, somewhere far away from on his island somewhere in the BVI and he just gets on the phone and he calls his friends and say, look, I need help. And that's the other thing, learning to ask for help if you're in business or if you're in property is really important. And if you come from a point of authority and experience and good reputation, so I think he probably has a reputation of being, he has integrity and he's honest, I think, right? So those kind of things are priceless. So then when you get into trouble, then first of all, you need to have the friends, of course, to help you out. But you also need to back it up with, okay, you've come from a good point of view in running your business all along so that people trust you that when you're in trouble, they help you out.
Yeah, that's so true. And just look at the difference that made. I mean, if that didn't happen, we probably wouldn't be talking about him today, right? He probably would have just disappeared.
Yeah,
I wonder,
sure.
Those moments are pivotal, isn't it? Just to, asking for help as well. I mean, I think people see that as a sign of weakness, don't they? And that's the problem, isn't it? That people think they don't want to be vulnerable if they're successful in business. They don't want to appear like they are in need of something. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, if you look at any successful investor, for example, I mean, we talked about Robert Kiyosaki as an example.
Yeah.
He's always asking for money. He talks about OPM, other people's money, right? How important that is to your business. So I think that's a skill, isn't it? And you're right. Everybody has the ability, and maybe it's something we're not comfortable with. And the answer to that really is to surround yourself with people who are and learn from them.
Yeah, and also I think what I learned too is that if you're asking people for help and they say no, that's fine too. My relationship with them doesn't stop, right? It's just that I just consider it, okay, that's fine. They have the right to decide what they want. They don't, I don't force them to step in and help. And I see help also as investing with me, right? So if I ask for other people to come in and invest with my projects, it's like asking for help. And if they say no, I just consider it, okay, that's fine. This, what I have to offer to them doesn't suit them and they don't want to step in at this point. It's not a problem. But it's good to know that you have the skill to ask for help. And I think it's good to regularly pick up the phone and ask people for either a sale or help or whatever it is, because it gets you accustomed to hearing no as well. I'm sure when Branson picked up the phone, not everybody was jumping in and throwing money at him. I mean, no. Right? So the success of it is that he managed to fix it. But I'm sure it came after a weekend of making phone calls.
And I'm sure that whoever gave him the credit facility made money out of it. Sure. So that's the other thing as well, is that I think the challenge is that a lot of people, when it comes to asking for money, our earliest experiences are asking parents to borrow money, right? And therefore, that's what we're kind of imprinted in. When you're older, when you ask for money, you kind of forget that whoever you're asking money from is in business of making money out of lending money, right? So they have to lend money. So, I mean, this is one thing you learn in property. I think when people come into property as an amateur investor, they're like, oh, I can't go to this mortgage company to borrow money because, it's like they're doing me a favor, right? But people forget that they want to lend you money. And this is the same with yourself now that you're building a portfolio and getting investors to come in, right? You're not asking for favors from these people. You're doing business in the sense that you're asking for money. But this is how those people make money, right? By having reputable investments to go into, right? Rather than just doing favors for their mates and handing out $500,000 here and there, right? So that's key to remember, is that, you can ask for money, but remember that the people that lend money, that's how they make it. They need you to ask, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think the last lesson of Branson is, don't get too tied up to your source of money, right? So if one bank doesn't do it, there's other banks out there that might do it. Or if one investor doesn't want to do it, there might be other investors out there to do it. It's an open market, and don't be afraid to go and shop around and see what other possibilities there are for you.